Welcome to the There's Insurance for That podcast. Our goal is to be the number one destination to discuss all things insurance. We are your hosts. I am Nate Brown.
And I'm Edwin Moreno. And today we will be talking about how we got into the insurance industry.
Man, that's an interesting topic, man. How did it all begin, right?
It
How
is a
did we
very
get
interesting
started?
topic. It is a very interesting topic. But I mean,
Man,
how you doing, bro?
feeling
How's
good, man.
yeah,
Feeling good. It's a good day.
yeah.
Weather's good in Chicago. You know what I mean? Hey, gotta enjoy those days while we got them. You
I
know,
totally agree. I like realize that, being here my whole life, um, the heat is something that we end up missing very, very, very much once once it's gone. So I need to, you know what? I need to remind myself that more often because I'm
yeah,
not gonna lie, the past couple of days, I'm like, man, this heat is crazy. And when winter hits, I'm gonna be like, yo, I miss
for
those
real.
I miss I miss those days. I miss those days. Hey, but like, this is our first episode. So I
First,
think, yeah, this is a big deal. And I like the
yeah,
topic that we agreed on to bring in as our first, as our introduction to sharing our journey and to sharing just insurance facts, right? Everything that we've learned.
yeah,
We've been in the industry for a while, so we have a lot of knowledge to share. But I mean, what was your introduction to this, man? How did you?
man. It's interesting. I feel like this industry chose me. You know what I mean? I didn't wake up and say I want to be
Preach?
an insurance broker. I never, matter of fact, I ran from it. To be honest with you, I've been prospected since, I heard about it back in like end of high school, college. I was hearing about the Primerica thing. Primerica, you want to join Primerica? And I wasn't feeling it. Only reason why be because the people who were telling me about it had poor integrity and they were talking about this, you're gonna make millions. And I'm like, you know, you broke. You know what I mean? It's just weird. It just was like, okay, this
Well,
ain't
where's the proof?
telling me.
For y'all that don't know, Primerica is, they're kind of like an agency, right? You could say,
Yeah, they've been
because
around for a minute.
they've been
AL
around for a
Williams
minute and they
started that.
represent they do like life insurance mainly.
Buy,
And
term, and invest the difference. That's their big slogan. You know what I mean?
okay.
Shout out Primerica. This ain't the shun of Primerica. This is my
Right. But I mean,
my
no,
journey for real.
but that was, I think that intro. So all right, so Primerica. So yeah, so it's just kind of like letting the audience know like what carrier, what company that is, and it's not a bad company. It's just unfortunately the way it's been represented, at least in our neighborhoods, hasn't been because I had this. I agree with you, but I had the same experience with that. So
Yeah.
so you did Primerica for a while, or did you? It was
Mm-mm.
just the
I, I
introduction.
I went. I met with a person. They did like a financial needs analysis thingamajigger. Don't get me wrong. It was cool. He let me know I was spending too much on eating out at that time in my life. You know what I mean? So it was cool, and I like the fact that they want to help people. It was just, dude, I was just about to start college. Like I was literally like 18, 19 when I got introduced to this. So I wasn't. I'm like, man, I'm about to be an engineer or something else. I thought I was gonna do something else. And so I went through the college route, forgot about it. And then I came to Chicago 2013 and, was still working as a mental health social worker, case manager, supervisor, all those type of things. And I met a gentleman, um, can't remember his name, I think it was like John or Jacob or something like that. I was doing Lyft. I was in between I was leaving the social worker thing. I started doing Lyft, right? To try to learn Chicago better and make some money on the same time. I met a gentleman who was he was a real cool guy, young guy. He was like, "Man, I'm about to be a dad. I'm just found I'm having a daughter soon. I'm nervous. I'm scared." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, you're gonna have fun, man. I got three of them." You know what I mean? And he was like, "Oh, for real?" He's like, "Give me some game." And so I just like, dude, this it's a different world. They're emotional. They're gonna say, "Daddy, can I have? Get your money right." And he was like, oh, that shouldn't be a problem. I make about 12 to $15,000 a month. And I'm like, skirt. I'm like, bro, I am struggling mental health, dude. What do you do? Because I'm not bringing those kind of numbers home in mental health at all. And so he was like, look, man, you seem kind of cool. Here's my number. Here's my card. I'm out of state, but meet my guy. He was with Northwestern Mutual, I believe.
Yep. Yep.
Shout
Yep.
out to
Yep. Yep.
Northwestern, great company.
Yeah. Yeah.
I met and interviewed there. They liked me and everything, and they were like, here's this list. I need you to fill this out. You need 200 people. And I'm like, I just moved to Chicago. I know like 13 of my wife's friends and cousins, maybe. So that list was mad short. And so they said, we'll follow up with you in a year and try to make this list long. And honestly, life went on. They did call
Right.
me in a year. I still had the same list with the same 13 people. I was like, nah, this isn't gonna work out. So I'm still working at a different job at the time, and we were doing a career fair.
How many years ago was this, by the way?
Dude, this must have been, I got licensed 2015. This may have been 2014. I moved here 2013. This probably was 2015, 14.
2015. Okay, cool. So this
So
2015. So all right, cool. All right,
yeah,
all
it
right, all
found
right,
me. So I was like, okay, that
right.
was cool.
So that's interesting. So it was hitting you already like a couple times already. Like
Yeah,
insurance has hit your life
yeah, hit me at
in
18,
different areas of your
19,
life.
skip 10 years or some 20 years, hit me
Okay.
again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm at this career fair. Lady walks up and I'm like, hey, do you want a job? We're hiring at these companies. And she was like, no, I'm actually want to know, do you want to work with me? And I'm like, well, what do you do? She's like, I work at PHP, da da da, Patrick Bet David. And that's what sparked my ear because I literally just got done watching a YouTube with Patrick Bet David. And I was like, oh, that dude, the tall guy, that, you know what I mean? I was like, okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Came in there, I seen the culture, it was live, it was jumping. So I was like, you know what? This insurance thing keeps finding me. Let me plug in. All right, let's go in. So I got like came on board, got licensed, worked there for about first year. I worked there for years, climbed up the ranks, recruiting, and just doing what I knew what to do. And I met an older gentleman. I tried to prospect him. I gave him my card. I drummed at his church. I played drums at his church. And then that afternoon, he had a barbecue or something at his house, football game. He invited me and the musicians and wife and everybody came over. And I gave him his card. He's like, "Oh, cool, insurance." And I was like, but I wasn't used to that reaction. And he was like, I've been doing that for the past like 30 years. I'm about to retire next year. And I'm like, oh, really? And then he was like, I was like, I guess I ain't prospecting him. He's not joining my team. And so he was like, hey, what do you work for? And I'm like, PHP, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, what's your percentage? I'm like, 50% contract. I'm a whatever I am, FA or whatever the rank was. And he was like, do your due diligence on the industry and get out of here and start and go independent. And I'm like, you know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, what? Independent? What you mean? Like,
mm.
So of course, I'm still doing my thing. I'm, sipping the Kool-Aid. Shout out PHP again. Shout out
Right.
Patrick and all the guys, great company, y'all. You know what I mean? Doing your thing. And a year goes by and I meet the same guy again. So you go independent yet? I'm like, no, but I just got a 10% increase. And he is like, again, I would take you on, but I'm leaving the industry. I'm out. I'm retired. But do your due diligence. I think you could be bringing home a lot more. Some things got funky with PHP. I went independent, got with some carriers, and instantly they were like, "Yeah, we'll start you at like 100% contract." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So
Not yet. 90,
I could do the
85,
same thing I've
100.
been doing and bring twice as much home. I was like, oh my gosh. So went independent, started Dominance Financial in 2017, and I'm here, man. Been helping people ever since, man. We are, what is this, 8 years in? 7, 8 years in? Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
on
yeah,
year
yeah,
eight,
yeah.
year
Yeah,
eight
eight.
right
Yeah,
now.
that's seven. That's you said 2017, so 8 years.
Yeah, 10 years
So
total I've been in the industry, man.
industry 10 years. Yeah,
Learning
yeah,
and
yeah.
growing
That's
and
that's a
evolving.
yeah.
So.
That's a journey, man. That's a journey.
Yeah,
That's
tell me
so
about your
you do
story, man. Oh, sorry,
what's
go
up?
ahead.
Well, no, but you don't want to ask you. You do primarily like your goal, your focus has been on the life side, right? Like the life,
Yeah.
health, kind of like disability, kind of
Yeah,
like
I got the
that
life
that
and health license.
spectrum, that end of like the industry, which is huge and very complex. and just like learning how you can use leverage life insurance, or how you can leverage, just these financial products. There's so many different financial
Really.
products.
Yeah.
And I think I need, at least from my experience, people I get lost. I don't know it that well. That's a whole other world that I don't take part in. So, um, it's a journey, man. That's cool. And you being independent, you work with a lot of different companies on that side, and you also have people kind of like you could connect with, right? Like
Oh yeah.
resources, and like, you could, right.
Limitless. Like it's been a game changer. I mean, the stuff I learned and acquired, and, the knowledge I've learned along the way, and what I'm able to do by being an independent agency, not captive to anyone or any situation. I mean, the financial products has, you know, it's been vast. So I can pretty much help anybody in any area of financial, literacy, growth, avoid taxation, all these type of things. And I thought, again, in the beginning, I thought is, oh, if you die, here's some money for your family. Now that's the least of what I
Right,
what I do in this industry. So yeah,
right,
life and health. Health is a whole nother game. It's all type of, ACA, Medicare, hospital indemnity, and so many other things that are it's vast. So,
right.
but again, been doing this for a while, learned a lot, and I'm forever a student. So you know what I mean. It's a lot more to grow. I am forever in the college of I call it FIO University, figuring it out. There's always there's always more to
Bro,
figure out in this game.
bro, I've been in the industry
True.
long enough to where I've met people that kind of like, just assume they know it all already, and kind of like they have that demeanor to them of like, I
Mhm.
know it all, and it's like, my shit don't stick. I know, it's like, come on, man. Like there's always things are always changing. Companies,
Yeah.
carriers are always coming up out of nowhere. Carriers are getting bought. You're constantly
Mhm.
learning. You're constantly learning in this industry no matter what.
Always.
So I agree with you.
Now you do a whole different spiel though. You do property and casualty. I'm not even gonna lie. When I first got introduced, I was like, "What about property and casualty?" And people are like, "Oh no, I want to stay away from that. I don't know. That's a headache. That's a this. That's a that." So I'm like, "Okay, the boogeyman of PNC. Stay away." And then I meet people like you who are like, "Dude, this is it. Like, what are you talking about? Like, do you know what I'm able to do?" And I'm like. Oh my God. So it's just so funny. Like whoever introduces you or talks to you first, sometimes they can leave either a great impression or a horrible impression. And so it can deter you from the awesomeness that this industry really can provide if you know what you're doing and you do it right. And so when I met you and I'm like, oh, you're doing PNC? And then you're telling me all the bells and whistles and how your career as your book of business has grown. And I'm like, oh shoot, I need to I need to see what's up. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's interesting. Tell us, how did you get started in that? Because nobody, I don't think, wakes up and says, I want to be a PNC agent. You know what I mean? Like I'm a
Bro,
property and casualty agent. So how did that happen, bro?
I agree. I I I I would also say it found me. Like I would
Okay.
also say it found me in a way. And it's like in a way. And I also, it's interesting. So I started with life. I started with life, like life and health,
Word.
like supplemental life insurance, man. I started with Aflac. So
Okay.
I was doing Aflac. I was knocking door to door, working on I was trying to get factories and businesses like to sign up to get Aflac for their employees, so I was already kind of going after businesses, like I
Yeah.
already knew, because that's what Aflac, you could do individuals with Aflac, but I was around people that were like, no, like go after the company, like go after the
Mhm.
business, and like don't worry about individuals. Like that will come. Right now, go after businesses, make relationships with business owners. And that really caught my attention. So I was, man, so I mean, let's rewind. I was at Best Buy. I'm working at Best Buy. I'm like 19 working at Best Buy.
See, same age.
You know what I'm saying? Going to school, doing my thing. And then I'm like, oh, I realized that, I mean, honestly, um, my, I find out I'm gonna have a baby, right? So my first child, she's 15 now. So my first child So I've been in the insurance industry, what, 15 years, going 16 years. So my
Okay.
first child was coming, and I'm like, I need a career. I can't stay in Best Buy. It was like I'm here, I'm going to school, but like this is something it's like my like figuring it out hat like immediately got on. I was like, all right, I need to figure something out, something I can focus on, something that could be long term. And I'm looking around and I'm talking to different people, and I get introduced to someone who works for Aflac. This dude had a suit, really nice car, and I'm just like, oh, this is like, all right. Kind of like, like I saw like, I saw like I didn't see the numbers, no one told me the numbers, but
Yeah.
I saw like just the get up and and the car and the vehicle, and I'm like, oh, this person looks like he does well,
Yeah.
and kind of, conversation. And one thing led to another where at the time, like my friend, my friend's dad was getting into it. So he was like, hey, you've been in Best Buy for a while. I know I'm selling computers. I'm talking to people. I've heard that you enjoy that part. Why don't you come like on my team, like with Aflac? So I'm like, okay. So I'm traveling about an hour away. Forgot what the suburb was, but I'm traveling an hour away to like go to these meetings and to learn about just like prospecting. And so what happened was when I walked in, everyone was at least like, I think the youngest person was was not the owners, but the like the director of that region, like the director's son was the
Mhm.
youngest, like was probably like the youngest compared to me, and he was like 10 years older than me.
Wow.
And that was like the closest person to my age that was there. And then everyone else was like 20 to 30 years older than me.
Oh wow. You was
So I was
young.
like, so it really caught my, so I started asking people, I'm like, why are you here? Like, I was like, what made you do this? And they're like, oh, well, I'm retired, but I need additional income. And
Okay.
I was like, oh, so you're doing this for additional income? They're like, yeah, yeah. I mean, what I'm making from like from my retirement, I thought it would be enough, and it's just it really isn't. And so just this is a good. I have good relationships. This is kind of like a good move for me, to kind of
Yeah.
like build up on my relationships and make some additional income. And I heard other people say like, you know what? Honestly, I wish I would have gotten into this earlier. I wish I would have learned this a lot earlier. Now I'm in my 50s trying to learn this, and I mean things are going pretty great, but I know things would have gone a lot better if I would have done this when I was your age. So people
Yeah.
start like telling me these things, and it's just like it sparked this interest immediately where I'm like, all right, hold
Mhm.
on a second. If people much older than me are coming into this career path, this maybe I should like stick to this. Like, and I just
Yeah.
like once I heard that, man, I just like locked in immediately. And I was like, all right, I want to learn this really well. Like I want to be the best at this.
Yeah.
And the more, as I started going out, the more I started working with Aflac, and my shout out to Aflac, great organization. They have awesome products. My team
Yeah.
was really focused on the close, and I was really focused on the education. And
Okay.
so, and that's where there were some people that were focused on the education, and I appreciate those mentors because they were like, no, like educating is like so important because you just want good clients. You don't want people making like claims that don't make any sense because you have to
Yeah.
process those claims. That falls on you. So I'm getting great insight of like, look, like that's the way to go if you want to grow a sustainable business. And
Mm.
and so getting that insight, it also helped me realize as I was going to like different businesses, bro, I had business owners, I speak Spanish, and so knowing Spanish has been it's been such a blessing in my life because, when I walk into these places with a Spanish speaking business owner, they might be like, I'm not interested, but then they're like, wait a minute, you know about insurance? And I'll say, yeah. And then they'll say, can you read this for me? And they're like showing me like their business
Mm.
policy or their building policy. And I had
Yeah.
no idea what that was. I'm like, wait a minute, you can insure a building? I'm at this point,
Oh,
I'm about to turn 20 maybe, I'm just learning about insurance. I'm thinking it's just like life insurance, health insurance, car insurance, home insurance, renters insurance. But I don't know there's building insurance. I'm like, wait, you could insure like a whole building. Like, yeah, you have to. I'm like, oh. And then
mm.
like, and then it's like, oh, we have to insure our workers. I'm like, what? Yeah, workers' comp insurance. I'm like, oh, workers' comp insurance. Like, yeah. Oh, and we need general liability. And I'm like, general liability? Yeah, like premise liability in case anyone slips and falls. I'm like, Oh, and we get an umbrella to go to overlap that general liability just in case we go over our limits. Oh, and this covers our products. If we have a product, sometimes it'll cover it, but sometimes it'll exclude it because the product is too risky. And I'm like,
Wow.
wow. So it was just like this vast, honestly, man, this vast universe. It was like this like huge universe of like different coverages and like and then it was like every business had a different industry classification because
Mm,
you can't insure, you know, I can't insure a grocery store and call it an office. You know what I mean? Like if
gotcha.
I insure a grocery store, it has to be classified as a grocery store, which means it's more expensive. So I was going to like I was talking to general contractors and they're like, look, something's wrong with my insurance. Can you read this for me? I'm like, oh, well, you're classified as a landscaper. And they'll be like, what? I don't do landscaping. I'm a GC. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, I'm like, well, I think maybe that's the issue, because this classification says this. So I'm translating this for people, and they're like,
wow.
oh, okay. So now I'm learning, like, wait, and then so there's more. I mean, there's commercial auto coverage, there's trucking insurance, there's EPLI, employment practices. Now there's
Hold on,
cyber
wait.
coverage.
I will cut you off. Hold on, wait. See, I don't know about property and casualty like that. So you mean, let's say you step foot in one business, you know, in most cases with life, that person, you might be able to cover most of the bases with one policy, maybe two or three, depending if they want health or something like that. But you just said you walked into a business and they needed like four or five different things. So you could
Easy.
legit, for one, there's a need for all these other things as a business owner. Most people don't know that, especially if you got brick and mortar. And then, so there's like four or five different policies you can help one business with. And wow, okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay, okay,
Well,
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I
Well,
was like,
no, I'm
hold
with you. But
on.
like,
Like,
and you're
that's
just
a
talking
lot.
about, listen, that's just the business, but then the individual has a home, they have an auto, they have rental properties that they own, they have another business that they invest in that needs insurance.
Wow.
So, the possibilities are huge, and a lot of these businesses don't know that they have gaps in their coverage. I saw business owners that they're like, yeah, I own this property, it's vacant. We were talking about this the other day where it's like someone breaks into. So I'm learning all these things. I'm like, all right. I was like, all right, this is cool. Like, I'm like, this is a dope, and I'm only life and health licensed at the time, and I'm reading this stuff for
Okay.
people, and then I find out I'm like, oh, I can't really explain coverages to people if I'm not licensed, right?
Mm,
So I'm like, all right, I need to get into this.
yeah,
So as I'm doing that, maybe like 2 years into Aflac at this point, my daughter's born, and I'm also thinking about, all right, like what am I gonna do? What's my next move? And then I learned the person that brought me into insurance left. He was like, this isn't for me, and I'm like, this is for me. You know.
yeah.
So the person that brought me in left, and then they're like, look, I feel bad that I kind of brought you in and I just like up and left. So let me introduce you to someone who I think, because you've been talking about kind of like offering other coverages or working on different things, and I think you want to be an independent agent. And I'm like,
Mm,
yes. I'm like, that's what I want to do. So and then I get introduced to an agency that does life, health. So I'm life and health licensed. So I go there to kind of focus on that. But then I see that they do this P&C stuff that I've been learning about. So I'm
yeah.
like, so I asked him, what do I have to do to do this? I want to do this stuff. Oh, but we brought you for this, that's not really your focus. This is something that we're developing on the side. I'm like, nah, I'm like, whatever. I want to learn that. Like,
Yeah.
and I want to be independent in it. Like, I want to be able to
Mm,
represent as many companies as I can
yes.
in that. And then they saw my want and they're like, all right, well, this is how you got to get licensed. This is what you got to do. Did what I needed to do. Got my property and casualty license. And so, man, it was all like just like honestly, like just like a chain of events, like connecting with different people, meeting different people in the industry, and then seeing the gap in property and casualty where like there's a lot of people that don't know what they have or why they have it. And
Yeah.
that attracted me to the industry, and it brought me closer to like, all right, this is this is what I want to do. And then, that I ended up, I built an agency. I recently sold, it's been 3 years now, but I sold the agency, because that's the thing about property and casualty. You're able to grow your book of business if you're independent, and you can sell your book of business if you want to. And, I'll say, like, I prematurely sold the agency because of a partnership issue.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I'm interested in starting a new agency right now, but I am.
Yeah.
This is what I do. This is what I do. I currently do it under LR Windsor right now. They're the people, or they're the agency that bought my book of business.
Hmm.
Um, and I have access to more carriers now. I have access to more carriers now. I don't have to worry about service, or like renewals, or
Yeah.
so I get the residual from my renewals without needing to like remarket them, or like make sure that they're okay, or like, because I have people that are doing that all the time. So, I
Nice.
I pay, I mean, there's like, I pay because part of my commission, gets cut to go to that, but it's, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It weighs itself out, man.
Peace of
I get
mind.
to,
Yeah. Like,
yeah, I get to do things. I get to build what I want to build, and I get to, and I get to learn. Like, I get to keep learning, and I get to really focus on what I enjoy doing, which is connecting with people, which is like educating people about what I do, and talking to business owners, educating business owners, being a resource for business owners, in any way, shape, or form. I've had many people that just come to me and they're like, look, I just have a question, and they don't end up switching their policies to me, but they learn, and guess what? They come back. It might be a year, it might be 2 years.
yeah.
And that's what I love about PNC. It's really easy for someone to just like come back. It's really easy for someone to be like, all right, I want to switch to you. I want to switch all my things to you. It's a very it's a cool industry.
You know what I like about PNC is that for most part, people need it. Like for a lot of those insurances, it is required. It's required to have. So it's like you gotta have it. You might as well go to the source who knows this, who actually gives a crap about you having the right type of coverage, is not trying to steer you away, different things like that. So that's really cool because it's like with life insurance is like you have to want it even though you technically need it, you need
Yeah, you
it,
need it.
you need health insurance, but you gotta actually want it.
Mm,
And unfortunately, most people go through their own chain of events before it becomes important. And it's one of those
right,
things where if you got it younger and you were properly informed of how to use it, you'll be as saying the same thing. Man, I should have got this when I was 18 years old. And now I'm 60 and I'm just now learning about how to grow this in 10 years and have passive income tax free for the rest of my life. They didn't know about those type of things. So it's like one of those things that I think that was, I mean, how we got into the industry is really important, but I think none of we've been in it for a while because, I mean, let's be honest, people come and go. People start, people leave, people start, people leave. And
a
being
revolving door in this
transparent,
industry, bro.
yeah, I've wanted to probably quit a million times at some point, you know what I mean, along the way. Of course, any entrepreneur understands that you have your moments where you're like, but the why, the people, I realize, like to be transparent, it hit home. I learned this stuff 10 years ago. My
Right.
dad he'll be 70, he's 72 today.
Okay.
I just looked at the
Okay.
date. He turned
Yeah.
72 today. And I
Wow.
remember him telling me, son, if I had only knew the stuff that you know now, back when I was in my 30s, how well off I would be right now. You know what I mean? So I got to see somebody just saved the best way he knew how. He just didn't know the proper ways how. So
Right.
I looked at somebody who, man, you work 40, 50 years of your life and you think you're just going to have this cool retirement. You've been told this social security thing for so long. And it let me know you can actually work, retire, and be poor
Right.
because what was a lot of money 50 years ago is nickels and dimes right now. And so I just
Right.
kind of made a point like, I don't want anybody else to go through this. Because I was thinking about people from my high school, people from how many people are just disillusioned because America is really good at selling a lie or selling a dream or a nightmare,
Yeah.
rather,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
everything's going to be
Selling
okay
a
if you
dream,
live
yeah,
here.
a dream disguised as a, yeah, a dream disguised, a nightmare disguised as a good
Nightmare
dream,
disguised as a Yeah, and so
Yeah.
that's part of the reason that keeps me in because I'm like, man, every person I talk to and educate and put them in a position to win, it just makes me feel better. Like
Yeah,
it's
I
a
like
heart
that.
posture that comes with it too. You're like, man, this person's gonna be jacked up in another 15 years if I don't, if I don't educate them on what this is. And
I
so,
relate. I
yeah.
relate, man. I had I recently helped someone, it's a car dealership, and the person that they were insured with, claims that they specialize in that industry,
Hmm.
and they do probably, I say claims because I don't know them personally, but like, they have the carrier. I have the same carriers they have, you
Mm,
know, um, and I have more now. So what ends up happening is I was able to provide an option that saved this individual a significant amount of money, almost half. You know what I mean? Like, and
wow.
it's, I mean, we're talking about, tens of thousands of dollars in savings.
Hmm.
Um, and it's because we had a discussion and we looked at, all right, wait, what do you have? What do you really like? What's your inventory like? Where are you at here? Asking those questions, those difficult questions that might bring my commission down, but I
Yeah.
don't care. It's fine. It's like it's okay because now this is a long-term relationship and I'm looking out for your best interest. Like
Right.
no matter what, I'm looking out for your best interest as a business owner because I understand like, man, saving tens of thousands of dollars can be huge for a business that can really change the trajectory of a business in such a positive way where like you could really reinvest and apply in more ways to build. And I want to be treated like that as I'm
Yeah.
growing my businesses, as I'm building my businesses. I want people around me, they're like, hey bro, let me help you out. I don't want you spending more. Like let me let's figure it out so you don't have to spend more. With
Yeah.
that being said, is that timer, are we at time?
Oh, yeah, dag. That went quick. We're at 30 minutes, ladies and
Hey, we're
gentlemen.
at 30
So,
minutes. Let's bring out our helper here.
yeah, let's bring out our timer right here.
He's gonna give us another 5 minutes so we can
Another
share some
five.
this is the point of the episode where we share some highlights of what of our discussion and some just key points of
Yeah.
what we talked
Key
about.
takeaways.
Some key
Yes.
takeaways. Yes, some key takeaways of what we talked about. And I'm gonna flip this bad boy over and you can start us off, bro.
Boom. All right, flipped it over. Hey, so honestly, one key was what you just said right towards the end. You were saying, look, it may even affect my commission, but I want to help this person right. Now, one thing that did get preached to me during the PHP era was mission over commission, like your mission to help people. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was the old social worker in me, the mental health guy, but I do feel like if you do the right thing by people the right way, like the right thing is always going to come back to you. So there's been countless times where I wrote somebody a certain kind of IUL or some type of policy where I could have stroked that thing and had a big fat payday, but it wouldn't have been structured the way they needed it to be and wanted it to be. So we're like, no, we're going to put the minimum death benefit. It's going to be a big slice of my commission, but it's going to be a big increase in your retirement. And that is the type of stuff that I think why we're around. That's why people like me and you are still in the business and still to this day. No one's going to come back behind you and say, oh, he sold me some trash policy. He was just trying to grease his pockets. I think a good name is better to be had than riches and gold. And like I said, when this industry finds you, it's like God's way of saying, hey, I need somebody who's going to be integral to make sure that people get help. So that's one of my biggest takeaways. Like, do the right thing by people. Don't worry about the commission. It will find you. Things will come back to you for a circle because that's just the way God works. So I'm gonna
Man,
let you go ahead and give your
I
takeaway from this.
I love that, brother. I love that. I want to ditto that. That's beautiful. One of my key takeaways that actually stood out with your story, and it reminded me a lot of mine, persistence. The resilience and persistence in this industry. And I think there's a lot of people out there that may have the same mindset of wanting to do the right thing in insurance, but they feel like they're surrounded by people that don't, and so they don't, and so they think that they don't fit in, and they think that they might as well just give up, right? And the fact that you were introduced to this industry so many different times in so many different ways and still continue to say, you know what, I want to stick to this is a testament to like just to persistence and consistency and like what that creates, right? It's like if it wasn't for
Yeah,
that, we wouldn't be connected right now. Like this this
it's real.
this wouldn't be created. This is going to be a huge resource for individuals to learn, either like learn how to enhance their career in insurance, or just learn how to like get an insurance policy, or just learn how to read their insurance policy, just learn what they have and why they have it. We're going to talk about so many awesome topics.
So
They're going to
many.
support so many people in so many different ways. And I believe that the reason is because of your persistence and consistency, my persistence and consistency, and that's a big takeaway for me in this conversation. It's just like what it takes, like what it takes in order to develop, and the heartache that involves. It's never a smooth journey. Both of us,
Great.
like we've done different things in different ways, and it was never smooth, yet we stuck to it because we see the value that we bring to the industry, and we see the value that it can bring to us in our lives and for our
Right.
families. And so that's our time. But yeah, man, this was an awesome,
Man,
awesome
awesome.
conversation.
Awesome. So you guys stay tuned for next week. We'll have another There's Insurance for That podcast. Make sure you tune in, follow, subscribe. We're just getting started. This is just the humble beginnings. I'm looking forward to see how far we can take this. So we're putting goals out there. We're looking for at least 100 subscribers just to get started. So go ahead, subscribe, and we'll see you next week for There's Insurance for That.
Peace.